Today's video is on a 92 Geo Metro convertible, but it's pretty similar to almost any car. And what I've got is a low heat output. I know my engine temperature is getting up to the right range, about both the gauge and just feeling it, feeling the hoses. You can tell she's up there, but I'm not getting much heat out of the interior heating system. So it's blowing kind of mild warm air, not really good hot air like I would like, as this is a winter driven vehicle in the Midwest. So we need warmth, more than it gives, hopefully. So what I'm going to do is just try a flushing system. I saw another YouTuber do it, and I thought it was a pretty good idea. I can't credit that YouTuber because I simply can't remember. I watched so many, I simply can't remember who it was, but thank you for the idea. And let's see if it works on this car. And for those of you that may be watching and don't know what a heater core is, this is actually the heater core for this car. If I need to replace it, I will. Usually they're buried under the dash quite heavily. Certain cars much worse than others. I don't know how bad this car is. Obviously these are the two ends you're going to see sticking out of the firewall up there. And then that would be hot coolant going through it, air, with your fan, whatever multiple speed fan you have. Also, this could be all covered in dirt or dust and not flowing that way also. But being that the fluid passages are just so absolutely tiny, they're easily clogged. And this car, I know for a fact, had well, it's got a lot of miles on it. It's old, and it's 30 years old. And also I know it had oil running through the, before the rebuild, it had oil running through the antifreeze, so I'm sure oil didn't help, you know, flow very easily either. So we'll probably see some oil coming out of there when we go to flush it. I'm going to flush the whole coolant system on this because I think there is some still some residual oil still in there, as reference to, as seen by when I pulled the jug out. Well, no, actually that's the first time I've never seen it. I have been skimming that top. The oil will sit on top of it. I've been skimming the overflow jug over the years, and a year or so, since I noticed that it was still coming out. Looks like I've got her finally cleaned up somewhat, but I'll bet you once we start flushing we might get some stuff out. So basically the procedure is as follows. There's two hoses on the firewall, one right about there and one right just above it. I'm going to disconnect those. I got my bucket up here in the corner. I'm going to take a hose, go into the bucket, have a pump running to go back around. You wouldn't have to recirculate it, you could just pour it in there and leave it, but I happen to have a little pump. So I'm just going to recirculate it. I think that'll help clear out the junk. Use whatever you dare, but being that I'm only doing, and don't do the whole coolant system in the car, then you're gonna potentially eat up your head gasket, potentially eat up hoses. I'm gonna try the old-fashioned CLR. Maybe vinegar would work, maybe anything you got would work, but as long as it's not gonna eat the aluminum. If it does, I've already got another one, but in your case, you know, you don't just put it in the radiator, which would do the same job and clean everything, because then you're potentially etching out your head gaskets, and other places the head gaskets have coolant passages in them, just like around the cylinders they have coolant passages, and you probably just don't want to mess with all that stuff. That's my opinion. You know, the backs of your core plugs, your freeze plugs, all those things are all going to be touched by anything you put in there. So it should be pretty gentle, but CLRs, I wouldn't call it gentle. So I want to just get this thing cleaned out. If it won't clean out, again, I have another one. So I'll just have to go at it the hard way, but I'm going to see what this will do. Alright, so there you can see I've got both of my lines exposed. It actually doesn't go from left to right, it's more up and down, just on an angle a little bit there. As you can see, one's just a little higher than the other. But anyway, I'm going to hook up hoses to those into my bucket, back out of the bucket, and just keep a flow going. So here's my little pump, just a little all-purpose, I assume it's like a pond pump or something like that, just enough to move some fluid, and then that will go out. This is the return, and I've hooked it up the opposite backwards of the way I think it normally runs, just so I can flush it the best. This line's a little smaller than normal, but we're not going to be pushing as much as the water pump ever could push, so I don't think we're going to get a lot of chunks coming up from this little weenie pump. More when I go to flush it at the end with the garden hose. But I just used whatever adapters were necessary and whatever hose I had, because it's just temporary. Just started the pump. I don't know if it's I assume it's a self-priming type. Probably got to get that down in there deeper. I'm going to probably have to add some water because I only bought a quart of that stuff. Yeah, it looks like it's all coming out the side there. Just spinning the impeller, not really going in. So before I get a bunch of foam going, I'm going to add some water. Yeah, that little thing doesn't pump too bad. So I'm just going to let that go for a few hours and just see if we get a color change in the water. Right now it's a greenish yellow color, so can't really see it because of the foam, but I'll just put that down in there so we don't make more foam. Just let that run a couple hours and just see if it's going to do anything. Had it running maybe an hour or two. See a little debris in there, so we're getting something out of there. I don't know if it's going to help much, but it's definitely working. Alright, I've had that running several hours now, so I'm going to recover the green solution. Even though it's watered down, it'll mostly all fit back into the original jug. And then save that for another project that's probably still active. And then I'm going to rinse this with water just to get all that stuff out of the system. Now I'm going to try to hook up the garden hose onto there the best I can and get a power flush if possible. I don't know if I can really get that in there and tight to get a good flow. Here goes nothing. Oh yeah, we're getting more stuff out of there. I'll bring you in a zoom in a minute here. Oh, that was nice. See that, all that dark? I was putting in only clear water. Oh yeah, we're getting some good stuff out of there now. I figured it probably needed a little flow once to get really the stuff to come out. Nice. We got it all loosened up in there, I think. This is working better than I thought. A little cleaner. A little more, just the residue on the top, really. Whoops! Almost put that right in the intake. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to go from the big hose to the small hose. Flush it, you know, the opposite direction. Oh yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoops. Oh, we're getting some good stuff out of there now. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm going to hook it back up and we'll hope for more heat. I hereby declare that heater core cleanliness internal Wildwood certified. Thanks for watching.